Welcome to Movao Live, where I interview people from our amputee community all about their powerful life stories.
And I discovered some rare tumors in my right knee, giant cell tumors, which won't kill you, but it will kill the joint therein. And about 50 people in 1 million people have it, so it's quite rare. It's always lingering, sometimes sharp, sometimes blunt, sometimes like cutting a knife cutting through your knee. Really difficult to describe that pain. Yeah. The day of the surgery, I was as calm as I ever could be. I've never been so calm before, so that was really strange. The orthopedic surgeons tried to stop it. They didn't agree with me having an amputation. And to find doctors, like the rehabilitation doctors, the trauma surgeon who performed this amputation, who were willing to do it and promise me a better life, that was such a relief from doing nothing for a couple of years and feeling limited. And I don't feel limited anymore. And that's where the drive comes from.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Movao Live. Today, I am joined by Chris Kunkeler, who is one of our Movao champions and a huge part of our wonderful Movao community. He's also an adaptive athlete for the Inclusive Padel Tour, which he actually first discovered through Movao, and he is currently the number one champion player in the Netherlands. So I guess if there's any other Dutch players out there who fancy challenging him, this is your call. Okay, Chris, let's start at the very beginning of your story. If you could introduce yourself and tell us all a bit about your life before you had your amputation.
Yes, well, of course, I'm Chris. You mentioned that. I'm 55 years old at the moment. I live in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So, yes, Rebecca, if there's any other players in the Netherlands who want to play adaptive paddle, please come and join us. We're also planning to do a tournament in Rotterdam next year, maybe. International paddle tournament. As I said, I live in the city of Rotterdam. My life before my amputation was quite an active one. I used to do all kinds of sports, tennis, as you mentioned, and it used to do biking and running and fitness and everything. I live with my girlfriend and our foster son, who's almost 20 years old.
Can you talk a little bit about the condition that you had leading up to your amputation? Because weren't you in lots of pain at this time and you could no longer do the sports that you used to love? And then didn't you elect to have an amputation to try and get your life back?
Yeah, it started about 28 years ago, and I discovered some rare tumors in my right knee, giant cell tumors, which won't kill you, but it will kill the joint therein. They eat into the bone, and they cause inflammations and arthrosis and everything. So that was discovered about 28 years ago, and about 50 people in 1 million people have it. So it's quite rare. So there's not a lot of research, especially 28 years ago, there was not a lot of research done. So they gave me some radioactive injections with some kind of radioactive stuff, which is illegal now. So they don't give it anymore. So it caused more damage, and I did it twice. So it caused more damage probably than something good. But well, at the time they didn't know any better. So during the years since, I had about 6 or 7 operations where they scraped off all the tumor, but they scraped off more than that, of course. So the knee was getting worse and worse. So in the beginning, I could do sports after my surgeries. I started rehab, and after that, came back to tennis, to running, to cycling, and everything. But during the years, it gradually lessened the things I could do. And in the end, the last couple of years, I couldn't walk for more than 200 meters. I was in constant pain during the day, during the night. At night, my girlfriend woke me up because I was grunting and doing things in my sleep because I was in pain. So I couldn't do any sports anymore, of course. And getting to work was even hard to do. So yeah.
So was this the time, did you research about amputation, or how did you come to the decision to amputate your leg?
The first seed was planted in my brain when they discovered the tumors, actually, because that's when they said to me, in the worst cases, people have had it for years, sometimes opt for an amputation. So 28 years ago, I was already thinking, well, that might be the case, but then it's really abstract and everything. But the last few years, none of the doctors, none of the surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, didn't know what to do. I had some chemotherapy in a research stage, so the oncologist tried that. But in the end, the tumors didn't go away, and my knee was getting worse and worse. So none of the normal doctors knew anything about it. Through research, I came about some rehabilitation doctors who are specialized in amputations, and I got to talk to them, luckily. And there were long talks, and they advised me, well, you might be get a better life if you take your leg off. So that's how it started, and that was the first of many talks, of course, before I really made the decision. But I think after the first discussion with the rehab doctor, I already made the decision, but I didn't dare to say it out loud.
Yeah, that must be having an amputation, an elective amputation is an enormous decision to make. How did you
Yeah.
feel with the lead up to the surgery?
Well, uh, in all kind of stages. So there was a weird time. Luckily, we asked the rehab doctor if I could talk to a specialized psychologist before my amputation. So this lady really helped me to cope with the idea of having your leg cut off and living a life after that, but also in the build up to the amputation. So that really helped me. And the other thing I got doing was going to the gym with my personal trainer 3 times a week to be as strong and as fit as I could be. I had stopped the chemotherapy by then, so I was getting fitter again. So mentally and physically, I tried to prepare myself as best as I could, as you can do for an amputation. So that both really helped me. And in the end, about 2 months before the surgery, I quit my job. I quit. I called in sick. I called my boss and said, well, I can't handle this. Normally, when going through an operation, I just worked until the evening before, had the operation and got back to life again. But this was so life-changing. I couldn't cope with both working and preparing for an amputation. So, and in the end, I thought, well, let's get on with it.
That's a massive. Yeah, both emotionally and physically having an amputation, it's huge. How did you feel afterwards? Did you know that pain that you were constantly in when you came, obviously recovered from the amputation? Did it go straight away, or was it still there? Obviously, you have the pain of the amputation, but what was it like afterwards?
And that the old pain was gone immediately. I never had that again. So that was a great feeling, and it still is. Of course, I had pain of the surgery, and cutting through a bone is really painful afterwards. I noticed. But that takes a few weeks, and then it's gone, and now I'm totally pain free there. So that's really a relief. And I can tell you the way it felt. The day of the surgery, I was as calm as I ever could be. I've never been so calm before, so that was really strange.
Wow.
But we were in a constant fight these last few years to uh, to be acknowledged with this disease and how crippling it was, and that an amputation was the best option because the oncologists tried, and no, not the oncologist, the orthopedic surgeons tried to stop it. They didn't agree with me having an amputation. You don't want to cut into a good bone, they said. Well, it's not a good bone. It's a leg that's worthless to me. So that was we were in a constant fight. And to find doctors like the rehabilitation doctors, the trauma surgeon who performed the surgery, amputation, who were willing to do it and promised me a better life, that was such a relief. So the day of the amputation was really a really calm one. Of course, I was nervous a little bit, but really calm. And afterwards, I can tell you, took about 2 days for me to look at my stump, at my remaining leg. Of course, I saw there was a bit of a leg missing beneath the covers, but once I finally looked at it, I think I cried for about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I was so relieved.
It's a big shock though, isn't it? That's one of the I don't remember because I had my amputation when I was 6 years old, and I think I've kind of stored a lot of the trauma back then because it was in the 80s and there wasn't as much support as there is today. But one of my memories is still seeing my amputation and just being so I didn't like the way it looked, but I remember that first initial reaction to seeing it. Yeah, It's hard to explain, isn't it?
It is, and we've got both the opposites, because you were quite unlucky to lose your leg at 6 years old, and you didn't choose it. And in the end, it got better for you because you're living a good life. But for me, it was such a relief. So I was really happy with it. I was really happy looking at half a leg. So that's really hard to explain to people as well.
It is as well, but like what you were saying earlier about after you had had the procedure, that pain that you'd been living with for how many years? Was it 20?
At 28, but in the beginning, it wasn't so painful. The last 5 to 10 years was really painful. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last 5, 10 years for that pain, how can you describe that pain? Because it must be different to the pain of having an amputation, but then waking up and it no longer being there. It must be a pain that you can't really describe.
No, I can't. I tried it, but I can't. It's
Wow.
always lingering, sometimes sharp, sometimes blunt, sometimes like cutting a knife cutting through your knee, crossways. And so it's really, really difficult to describe that pain. Yeah.
But to wake up and not feel it anymore must.
Yeah, that was great. And you know, I never thought, even though I prepared so much for it, I never thought I would be so relieved. And I was so relieved to get rid of that leg. Yeah, and I still don't miss it. No.
So you're only around a year. Well, you didn't you come to the Ottobock headquarters in Berlin last week for your year anniversary? So you've just been an amputee now for 1 year.
Yeah, my
But
amputation day was May 30th, and last Tuesday was the year date of getting my prosthesis.
okay, I got you, being a prosthesis wearer. But that's such a great place to celebrate that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that was such a great coincidence. Yeah, yeah,
Of all
yeah.
the places.
Well, as fate would have it, Ottobock is almost synonymous with walking for us amputees, like the other brands as well. But Ottobock, of course, is one of the biggest. So to go to headquarters on that day was really amazing. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you have been throwing yourself into lots of different sports. So you've already, in a year, tried running,
Yeah.
skiing, you're playing paddle for the inclusive paddle tour. So where does all this drive come from now into playing all these sports?
From doing nothing for a couple of years and feeling limited, and I don't feel limited anymore. And that's where the drive comes from. Yeah. I always loved sports, and to do nothing was really hard for me. That was one of the main of well, maybe not one of the main things, but one of the things I took to consideration in getting an amputation, to do sports again in some way or another. Without pain. So yeah, I like probably I like most sports. Let's put it that way, and I like discovering new sports as well. So everything you throw at me, I'll try. Yeah.
I love that, yeah, because you joined. How come you decided to join, or how did you discover Movao? And we connected quite quickly within the community.
True. Yeah, I discovered Movao in my research before the amputation. I did a lot of research on the internet, of course, looking through forums, going to patient associations in the Netherlands. They put up a lot of articles as well. I checked Instagram and Facebook, and I contacted other amputees, had talks with them just in preparation. And I discovered Movao through that search, and I found some wonderful stories about people who really inspired me. And then after my amputation, I thought, well, maybe I was blogging. I was telling my story initially for friends and family to keep them posted about my well-being and everything. But people were so how do you say, complimentary about it. I thought, well, maybe not. Why not put it on Movao as well?
Yeah. They were such great articles. And it was really interesting because obviously I had my amputation in 1986 and don't remember so much of it. But it was really interesting reading your story and hearing your perspective going through it at that present time, because you are still only just over a year
Yeah,
into it,
I'm a
really.
baby. Yeah.
Yeah, very raw. So you also discovered Padel through our wonderful community. And so what made you decide to give that that sport a try?
Well, that blame is all on you, of course. You persuaded me to come, and especially because you were acting on the IPT, the Inclusive Paddle Tour, and you gave me the phone number of the founder and still active player Alessandro Ossola. So I contacted him, and he persuaded me even at the end of last year to come to Dubai for a tournament when I'd never played Padel in my life, so I didn't go there. But well, those things combined, your enthusiasm about it, his enthusiasm about it, a new sport, then I thought, well, some of my old tennis friends are playing it, so why not join them and see if I like it, and then I can maybe join the tour.
Mhm.
And I never looked back after that either.
What do you enjoy most about being part of the Inclusive Paddle Tour and being part of the Inclusive Paddle Tour family?
Especially the family, the community. I love the sport, of course. I love being active, and it's perfect even if you've got a above the knee amputation like we have. You can still play at quite a good level, I think. Not that I'm there yet, but I see other players playing at really a good level. But the community is most of it. Yeah, meeting all these people, all these other amputees or with other disabilities from all other countries, and none of them is getting held back by their limitations
Mm.
or things that other people see as limitations. I don't see them as limitations, and neither does the community.
Yeah.
So yeah, that feeling that's the best part, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, and what's also great is obviously playing for the Inclusive Paddle Tour, but also with the adaptations that we get, as an above knee amputee or a wheelchair player, we get a second bounce adaptation,
yeah,
don't we? So we can also, it levels the playing field when we do play
it
at
does.
regular paddle clubs and we can play with other people. And
Yeah.
it really is the most, I think, one of the most well, I think it's the most inclusive sport out there. What do you?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, yeah.
There's not
Especially
many.
when you're playing with a team. Yeah, yeah.
There's
Because
not
there are a
many.
lot of sports you can do individually, but this is a team sports, of course. So yeah,
Yeah, and like you say, there's a lot of sports. Normally, if we have a disability, we're set into our own categories, and we normally have to play with other people with the same types of disabilities. But with
yeah,
the inclusive paddle tour, or with playing paddle and having the second bounce adaptation, you can play with anyone really, which I
yeah.
think
You
is
can.
so
Yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
and that really helps. And yeah, like I said, I get the chance to meet all these wonderful people who won't be held back, and that's what I missed during rehabilitation. I was surrounded by other people who were in motorcycle accidents or had other diseases, and they didn't get the most out of life anymore, I think. And it's a shame to see, but I couldn't level with them either. So now I'm meeting all these people all over the world who have the same mindset as me, that you can still do anything. Yeah,
Yeah, makes you want to do more as well. And it's so great being with people that truly understand what you've been through or what challenges
yeah,
you face.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So, after many years of being in pain and not being able to partake in all the sports that you loved, what advice would you give to someone now who maybe they've had a life changing injury or event happen in their life, or they've had amputation, or they have an upcoming amputation, but they're nervous to return back to fitness? What advice would you give to them?
Talk to the right people, especially doctors. There are specialized doctors, like the rehabilitation doctors I mentioned, psychologists who are specialized in these things. They can all really, really help you with overcoming fears that you have or nerves that you have about it. Um, and don't let yourself get held back by it. What I did was just go to a personal trainer and asked him, I need private lessons 2 or 3 times a week to get fit before an amputation. So he gave me loads of exercises I could do in private with him. So there was no pressure from others, not in a group training where I would stand out or whatever. So that was actually, in hindsight, a great preparation as well, for me to do. And after the amputation, I would say to people, there are so many more other people out there who want to do sports, who have an amputation or another limitation. If you look for them, you can really find them. Like
Mm.
I did, it wasn't too hard to find all these communities, and participate in these sports. And once you get in there, you don't feel nervous at all. Not anymore.
Mm-mm.
No, no. But if you go to a normal sports club, then it's a different story. Then I can feel that, well, sometimes it's not easy to fit in or whatever. So that might be a challenge. Yeah.
And as we're mature sports people,
Yeah.
what we are, the older players, what would you say to people that think that maybe they're too old for sport and it's no longer possible for them?
It's quite easy. You're never too old. No, to do anything. I mean, I'm 54. I'm still running on a blade, which is which I find really difficult, but I do it, because the balance is so difficult for me to gain. But I can do cycling. I just went cycling, mountain biking for 30 kilometers here in Germany on holiday. You can still do lots of things. Even when you're a little bit older. Yeah. I
Mm.
did wall climbing through my rehabilitation at 53 years old. So I climbed up a wall. You can still do really lots of things. Yeah.
Did you wear your prosthesis when you were wall climbing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I was, but they took off the knee and the foot, and they gave me a stubby. I don't know
Okay,
if you
yeah.
know that. Yeah, so I could lean on my socket on
Mm.
the stubby. So I just had a short leg, of course, but that was easier to put on these things against the wall, these grasps, than the whole leg, of course. Because one time I did wear my whole leg and I was looking down and I thought I had put it on these things, but it was dangling somewhere. So you don't feel that, no. And you could also do it on one leg and take off your prosthesis if you're a
Yeah.
bit better. Yeah, yeah.
How did you find getting riding a bike again for the first time after your amputation?
I loved it because that gave me part of my freedom back. Up until then, I was walking, of course, and not having to ask others to bring me everywhere anymore. But once I could go back on a bike, I could cycle for many kilometers again. So I could go anywhere if I wanted to. So I really loved that again. Yeah, I love
And did you
cycling.
find your foot was staying on the pedal and everything, or did you find?
Yeah, it sometimes falls off. Yeah. I use an old-fashioned toe clip from the old cyclists area, that I put it in so it won't fall off as much. But that's on my normal bike only, of course. Yeah.
Mm.
When I do my racing bike, I got the clicking pedals, so it stays put. Yeah.
Excellent. So, what would you say to someone now who may be living with a chronic pain and considering an amputation? What advice could you give to them in one, finding out the right sport, not sport, support, may I say? And yeah, any advice for them on making that really tough decision?
Yeah. And like I said, talk to the right people, find rehabilitation doctors who are specialized in amputations. I know in the Netherlands we have several of these doctors. I don't know around the world how they are called. And in the Netherlands we do have, like I said, specialized psychologists as well, who can really help you and find these kind of communities like a Movao. There are lots of people on Movao who are really willing to help. If you've got any questions, you could do it one on one. You can call each other. You can do it by chat. You can read articles by members, and there are a lot of other communities as well, especially in the Netherlands, through which you can find other amputees to talk to. And I think that's also really essential. I talked to 2 or 3 amputees before my amputation. One of them in America who had the same disease I had, but 10 years before me decided to have an amputation, and she was telling me all the things she still was able to do. So that's really helped me, and I met one or two amputees face to face in the Netherlands, and really talked about for a couple of hours about everything that went on in their life still after amputation. So from the
Yeah.
smallest things of going to the bathroom to sports and everything. So if you're having to make that decision, do all these things. That really helps, and take your time. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. You can
Mm,
do it within 2 months or next year, depending on the illness you've got, of course. But if you can do the research and make the decision, and don't be afraid afterwards, because everything can go wrong, of course. But if I look at my situation, almost everything went right. So if your mindset is well, if you prepare good enough physically and mentally, then you can really make a success out of it and have a great life afterwards. Yeah.
that's really fantastic advice. Thank you. And it's really interesting as well to hear that you'd connected before making the decision to amputate with someone who had a similar, well,
Yeah.
the same,
The
uh,
same. Yeah.
tumor as what you had. And but did they go through an above knee amputation as well? Was it the
Yeah.
same? And
Yeah.
pain gone afterwards?
Gone. Yeah. Yeah. This
Wow.
lady was experiencing a lot of phantom pain, unfortunately. So
Um,
but that was the only thing. Yeah.
do you get any phantom pain?
Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes electric shocks in my foot. That isn't there anymore, of course. And I've always got these sensations. I call them phantom sensations. So not really painful, but like a sleeping or burning foot with some all these little
Pins and
needles in
needles,
it.
we call them
Yeah.
in England.
Yeah, yeah. And the foot is never in the right place. It's always hovering around my calf, someplace. So it's not in the right place.
Oh,
No.
that's really strange. So you have an
Yeah,
itchy foot, but not where your foot would be?
true. Yeah, yeah.
No way. Do you
My
oh, no, itchy
psychologist told
foot.
me
Do you get
this.
itchy foot as well, where you have to scratch it, but it's not there?
Not often. No,
No.
luckily, because I hate itching. So I'd rather have pain than itching. Yeah. Sometimes I do, but luckily not enough. No.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing worse when you've got an itch and you can't
Yeah,
reach that itch. So
true.
getting an
Yeah.
itch in a foot that's no longer there. So let's let's talk about what's upcoming in your future. Anything exciting? So you've of course already tried lots of new sports. Well, not new sports and adaptive versions of the sports that you used to do before you had your amputation. So what is currently on your radar to try next? What do you like the sound of, or what would you like to give a go?
Surfing.
Surfing.
Yes, yes. Windsurfing, kite surfing, everything. Yeah. I'm going probably going surfing for about half a week with the Bibian Mental Foundation, which took me to Switzerland for snowboarding in March, which is a really good foundation in the Netherlands for people with a disability who don't wish to be held back. So if you talk about communities, this is a great community as well. So if you live in the Netherlands, contact them, Bibian Mental Foundation. Bibian was an old Paralympics snowboard champion who unfortunately passed away because of cancer, but she was really great. Never met her, but all the stories were wonderful. And this foundation she's left is really great. So they do the winter games on which I joined them, and I'm gonna join them on the summer games. So that's surfing, yeah, in the sea. So really looking forward to that. Yeah, yeah. And today they invited me to go to the Formula One race in Zandvoort in August, because they're currently on a campaign to get autographs from people to give to our Dutch government. To say that every person needs at least 2 or 3 prostheses covered by insurance, because our legs are our shoes, of course, and one leg isn't enough if you want to do more than sit around all day. If you want to do sports, you need a sports leg. If you want to do other things, you need another leg. So they're on this really great campaign. So they bought some tickets for the Formula One circuit, and we're going to campaign there and get as much autographs from other people who support us as well to give
Wow,
out to the government in September.
this is fantastic. I can't
Yeah, it is.
wait.
Yeah. So yeah, surfing is up next, and I'm picking up biking again. So I rented some mountain bikes here as well. And this, when I'm on holiday at the moment, to do more sports biking. I cycle almost every day, but that's just commuting to work. So I want to do sports biking more and more again.
Yeah, so I guess we're coming to the end of our interview. Maybe one last question. What is the one thing or the one bit of advice that you wish you knew before you had your amputation that would have really helped you, that might help someone out there who is in the same situation that you were before your amputation?
There are lots of things I can say about phantom pain, about preparing, but the one thing that stands out for me is the one I'm most surprised about. And that is that there are so many inclusive communities out there, which are not that difficult to find if you try it a bit and if you're open to it. And through these great communities like the Inclusive Paddle Tour, like the Bibi and Mental Foundation, like everything we mentioned in this short interview, I met so many great people who've become friends to me all over the world. I got so many chances to do these great things traveling for Padel. I'd never thought of that. I was a decent tennis player, but I was never good enough to travel abroad. So now I can do that in playing Padel with other amputees.
You're the
I
number
went,
one player,
yeah,
may I
yeah,
say?
true. Yeah. I had a chance to go snowboarding, which I have never done in my life. So this time I did it with prosthesis. I get so many chances, and it's not that difficult to get them. I found out, and I never knew that. I would never have dreamed about that before my amputation. So that's the thing that has surprised me positively, mostly. Yeah. All these great communities, great people who've become friends all over the world, and all these opportunities I get as an amputee, which is really crazy to think about. But yeah, I'm grasping everything. Yeah,
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? It's wonderful to be able to connect with people all over the world that
yeah,
you wouldn't necessarily ever meet in real
no,
life, but
no,
we're brought together through amputation or limb
yeah,
difference or our stories or sporting
yeah,
events or
yeah.
organizations or Movao, of course.
Yeah, Movao, of course. Yeah, which is a really great community. Yeah, yeah. The first thing is the amputation that binds us, but the next thing is the common spirit. I think. Yeah, and that
Absolutely.
attracts people together. I think. Well, to stay in touch at least. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. Wow. Thank you very much for talking to me today, Chris. It's been very interesting hearing your story. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you,
Thanks for
guys.
having me. Bye
No
bye.
worries.